Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel Global Times USA. Please subscribe and like my videos, because today's update is one of the most intense and devastating reports we have covered in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Over the last 24 hours, Russia launched a massive combined drone and missile barrage, targeting multiple Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Lviv, and several smaller towns. This was not just an isolated strike, but rather a coordinated offensive that has shocked international observers and reignited debates about the scale and brutality of modern warfare. The scale of destruction and the level of precision used in these strikes show both the growing intensity of the conflict and the dangerous escalation that could have ripple effects across Europe and beyond. Today, we will take a deep dive into what happened, why it matters, and how this attack is being perceived globally, breaking it down in a way that helps you understand not only the physical impact, but also the symbolic message behind it. From the exterior point of view, the attack unfolded like a nightmare scenario for residents who were just beginning their day. Witnesses reported hearing the sharp whistle of missiles cutting through the sky, followed by explosions that lit up the skyline in multiple Ukrainian cities almost simultaneously. The visuals captured show high-rise apartment blocks burning, civilian infrastructure shattered, and emergency response teams struggling to keep up with the fires and debris scattered across roads. For many Ukrainians, the outside picture was pure devastation, as schools, markets, and public transport hubs were among the areas hit. Smoke plumes rising into the air created a war-torn exterior landscape reminiscent of some of the darkest chapters of Europe's 20th century history. The streets, usually filled with life, now echoed with sirens, screams, and the hollow sound of destruction. Moving to the interior perspective, which means the inside reality of how people lived through this barrage, we must remember that thousands of families were forced to seek shelter underground in metro stations, basements, and makeshift bunkers. The human side of this attack is seen in children clutching toys while their parents try to reassure them, elderly citizens struggling with limited mobility being carried to safety, and ordinary residents who only hours earlier were living normal lives suddenly becoming war survivors. Inside hospitals, the atmosphere was chaotic as doctors rushed to treat an overwhelming number of injured victims. Operating rooms were filled, corridors became temporary emergency wards, and medical staff worked around the clock with limited supplies. The interior view reveals the true cost of war, the emotional scars that will remain even after buildings are rebuilt. The resilience of people holding hands, praying, and comforting each other in dimly lit shelters speaks volumes about the human spirit, but also about the suffering that this ongoing war continues to inflict. This interior reality is often hidden behind the headlines, but it is what defines the human experience of such strikes, reminding us that war is never just about missiles and machines, but about lives irreversibly altered. When we consider the performance of this Russian barrage, military analysts are pointing out that this was one of the most coordinated and technologically advanced strikes since the beginning of the conflict. The combination of drones and long-range missiles was carefully timed to overwhelm Ukrainian air defenses. Russia deployed different types of drones, including the Shahd drones, alongside cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. This layered attack strategy aimed to exhaust anti-aircraft systems, forcing Ukrainian defenses to prioritize targets and leaving openings for other projectiles to slip through. Reports suggest that while many drones and missiles were intercepted, dozens still managed to hit critical infrastructure, demonstrating a troubling level of effectiveness. The performance of this strike showcased Russia's ability to integrate different weapon systems in real time, something that signals not only military strength, but also strategic adaptation after months of battlefield challenges. Ukrainian officials admitted that even though their air defense systems shot down a significant portion of incoming threats, the sheer volume made it nearly impossible to prevent all damage, which is exactly what Russia intended to prove. Looking at the safety features, the Ukrainian response once again highlighted the importance of early warning systems and shelters. Air raid sirens blared across cities, giving civilians precious minutes to find cover. Underground metro stations once again served as lifelines, demonstrating how urban infrastructure has been repurposed for survival. Emergency response teams displayed remarkable bravery, rushing into burning buildings to rescue trapped civilians while simultaneously dealing with unexploded ordnance. The resilience of the Ukrainian population and the functioning of these safety systems prevented what could have been an even higher death toll. On the Russian side, the use of precision-guided munitions was portrayed in state media as a feature of limiting collateral damage. But the reality on the ground shows that civilian areas bore the brunt, raising serious questions about whether safety claims hold any credibility in the context of this war. Unique selling points of this attack from Russia's perspective were intended to send multiple messages. First, it demonstrated that Russia still possesses the capability to strike deep into Ukrainian territory despite months of sanctions and supply chain issues. Second, it showed Moscow's intent to target not just military installations, but also critical civilian infrastructure like power grids, communication hubs, and transportation systems, effectively weaponizing winter by threatening blackouts and shortages. Third, the psychological impact of simultaneous strikes across multiple cities is a form of warfare in itself, aimed at breaking morale and sending a chilling reminder to Ukraine's allies that Russia remains far from weakened. For Ukraine, the unique selling point in their defense was their ability to shoot down a majority of incoming threats, showcasing the effectiveness of Western-supplied air defense systems like NASAMS and Patriot batteries, which are proving to be game-changers in preventing complete devastation. If we talk about the price, it is staggering in every sense of the word. For Russia, the financial cost of launching dozens of missiles and drones runs into millions of dollars, raising questions about sustainability in a prolonged conflict. But the real price is being paid by Ukrainians whose homes are destroyed, whose lives are lost, and whose future remains uncertain. The economic damage caused by strikes on power plants and transportation hubs will ripple for months, if not years, slowing down recovery efforts and deepening humanitarian crises. Internationally, the price also includes heightened instability in energy markets, increased refugee flows, and growing political divisions in Europe over how to balance support for Ukraine with domestic challenges. Each missile that strikes does not just cost money, it costs hope, stability, and peace. In conclusion, this latest barrage marks another dark chapter in the Russia-Ukraine war, showing us both the ruthlessness of modern military tactics and the unbreakable will of ordinary people caught in the crossfire. The exterior devastation is plain to see in destroyed buildings and burning streets. The interior suffering is etched into the faces of survivors. The performance of the Russian military demonstrates both precision and brutality. Safety systems and civilian resilience have prevented even greater tragedies. Unique selling points on both sides highlight contrasting strategies, and the price being paid is unbearable for those living through it. As the world watches, one thing becomes clear. This war is not only a battle for territory, but also a struggle for humanity's future, testing whether resilience, solidarity, and justice can overcome aggression and destruction. That is why global attention must not fade, because behind every headline is a human story, and behind every missile strike is a reminder of the urgent need for peace.